Welcome to the Unity of Olympia podcast.
I really appreciate too the story that Diane has, because she told us that she had an idea, and then pretty soon that idea spread. She was not the only one doing what she's doing, right? It's a beautiful thing about working from that genius zone, that thing that calls forth from within to be expressed. The Bible quote from today's daily word is one of my favorites, right? Be still and know that I am God. I know I'm not alone in that, right? That's a lot of people's favorite. And so I decided to do a little research and find out more about that particular quote. It comes from Psalm 46 from the Hebrew Scriptures, and I looked it up from the Message Bible, and I want to read it. It's just maybe a few lines. God is a safe place to hide, ready to help when we need him. We stand fearless at the cliff edge of doom, courageous in sea storms and earthquakes, before the rush and roar of oceans, the tremors that shift mountains. River fountains splash joy, cooling God's city, this sacred haunt of the Most High. God lives here. The streets are safe. God at your service from early dawn. Nations rant and rave, kings and kingdoms threaten, but earth produces life for living. Attention all, see the marvels of God. He plants flowers and trees all over the earth, bans the war from pole to pole, breaks all the weapons across his knee. Step out of the traffic. Be still and know that I am God, above politics, above everything. Wow, right? 2,500 years ago, people had the intuitive awareness that there is a power and a presence that is available to them, providing courage and strength. And they called that power God. 2,500 years ago, people lived in fear of what the planet might bring. They lived in fear of the threat of cruelty and war. 2,500 years ago, people felt the presence of that power that they called God in the midst of danger. Metaphysically, the city of God represents the consciousness of the community that comes together to support one another in knowing this presence within. God lives here. We are that community, supporting one another in knowing this presence is here now. Step out of the traffic. In the King James Version, it says, the chariots will burn up. I like step out of the traffic better. Be still and know that I am God. Today I'm presenting this third lesson in this 6-week series. It's called Exploring Spiritual Gifts, Where Joy Meets Need. And the focus today is about the second half of that title, Where Joy Meets Need. The world today isn't so different from the world 2,500 years ago. Climate change is a powerful threat and feels dangerous to many of us. Politics. Well, suffice it to say that it appears that nations are ranting and raving and that rulers seem to be threatening one another all over the place, right? A lot of people, including me, are asking, what am I supposed to do about this? How can I make a difference? How can I help? We want to be of service to bring about peace, but we question whether what we have to offer will make any difference at all. And the answer is yes. What we have to offer makes a difference. So let's take a quick review of the last 2 weeks, get everybody up to speed here. Week 1, we explored the idea that there are spiritual gifts within each and every one of us, that they are innate, not just us, but all of humanity. Week 2, we looked at how to address and even heal limiting beliefs that show up when we say, my spiritual gift might be compassion. What? That's not me. Or my spiritual gift might be humility. Anybody have a spiritual gift that they went, yes, yes, some people have some stuff that shows up that they go, wait a minute, that might not be me. And so how to heal those limiting beliefs, or how to heal those experiences when we get triggered and somebody else causes the pain. Wait a minute, okay, taking responsibility for our own experience of the world, right? That's what we covered last week. So today we're looking at how to match our gifts with the world's needs, so that it's not a mismatch. We really experience true joy when we are able to give from that place within us that we want to express, that is wanting to be participatory in the world. I'm thinking right this minute, and I'm going to just out him. Sammy is a musician. Sammy has done other stuff, but Sammy is a musician. There's nothing else that he has been. He has been a musician since he was 12. Since he was 12 years old, that's what he is. There are other things, right, that we do in the world, but there's something within each and every one of us that is calling for expression in all places. It's what we're called to do. Because when we recognize who we're called to be, then that leads us to what we're called to do. Right? But we have to see who we're called to be first. So, being of service without the experience of joy is a one-way trip to burnout. Anybody ever have that? Yeah! Me too. I have too. I'm so glad we got rid of that building. When Janice Stanfield wrote the lyrics, I may not be able to do all the world needs, but the world needs all I can do, she didn't mean that we have to give and give and give until we drop. The balance we're seeking here is one of giving from the spiritual gifts that are already alive in us, that are already seeking expression, so that you feel joy, so that I feel joy. So let's start with the basics. How do we feel joy the easiest way? Does anybody actually, I'm going to tell you the answer is, it's gratitude. It's generating gratitude within our own hearts, right? And that is possible all the time. There's research, lots of research being done in positive psychology. I love it, love it, love it. They're just proving everything and giving us more information. One of the things that they see is that we need 3 positive experiences for every single negative experience in order just to feel balanced, just to feel okay. And so an experience can be a thought in your head. Anybody ever have a negative thought in your head? It can be a thought in your head, it can be some interaction with somebody out there in the world, or it can be an interaction with the TV, the news. Any of those sort of negative, anything that makes us think or feel in a negative way. We need, as human beings, 3 positives. And the easiest way to create that positive experience in the moment is to generate gratitude. All right, here you go. Ready? Holler it out. What are you grateful for?
Kids.
Kids?
Safe home.
Safe home?
Music.
Music?
Nature.
Nature?
Friends.
Friends?
Unity.
I'm sorry.
Unity.
Beauty? Health? Health? I thought we were going to be going to St. Patrick's Day. What? Okay. We are absolutely grateful for leprechauns. So just, saying those words and saying, I am grateful. Say, I am grateful together. I am grateful. Right? Just doing that helps the brain and the heart and the body to start shifting consciousness. And so it's an opportunity. If we do that several times, there's also research in positive psychology, from positive psychology, that says that if we take a couple of minutes every day, at least 3 times a day, your overall experience of life gets better. Just a couple of minutes of generating gratitude. Now, the other thing that happens is that it calms the brain. And I think that anything that calms the brain, to be still and know that I am God. It's an opportunity to know the truth of who we are. Y'all on board?
Yeah.
The truth about who we are isn't necessarily what we look like or what we do, or right? There is within us some God center that wants to express. We are all children of that divine presence. How far did it go here? Yeah. Okay. Gay Hendricks, an author and brilliant woman, she introduces something called the zone of genius. She's actually got 4 quadrants, and this is about being in service to people and how we serve. Do we serve from our zone of genius? And we will know it because it'll feel more like play than work. And it generates positivity within and without. Or do we work from our zone of excellence, something that, you do just about better than anybody else, right? Or our zone of incompetence. Other people are making that same face I just made. Right? That you don't know what you're doing, but you're going to do it anyway because somebody said they needed somebody in that role. Or the zone of competence, work that you do well but doesn't really feel satisfying. So that's zone of genius, zone of excellence, zone of incompetence, and zone of competence. And she says that we can all consider ways to bring a greater expression of our zone of genius gifts into areas of service to actualize our full potential. That's lovely, isn't it? The full expression of our true spiritual gifts brings joy. It brings gratitude. It naturally nurtures these things. Many of our members are already living from their zone of genius. I couldn't be prouder to be part of this community. Myself, I first heard the call to become a minister at 16. So when I say, that stuff shows up and says, not me, I'm not qualified. I speak from experience. They talk about it in all of this literature about this stuff, but it shows up. So when I was 44, I finally started doing something, right? Almost 20 years later, because there was nothing else left for me to do. I just had nothing else to do. 2 weeks ago, we learned about Michael Penny's work with the Low Vision Resource Center. Last week, Anne Chanel told us about her work with the Washington State School retirees and Interfaith Works. Today, Diana Geary told us about Hugs for Hope and Hats for Houseless, that moves beyond just one place of contact, right? It's the oncology center, it's Sergio's place for houseless people. Here's what I know about each and every one of them. They are living lives of freedom and joy. They are making a positive difference in the world. They are working from their zones of genius. I know that not one of those three people I just named really doesn't want to do what they're doing. Ever. They're passionate about their work, and I ask them to come and tell us what they do because they are inspiring. Tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Patrick was kidnapped by pirates as a teenager and sold into slavery, and then he turned to God for strength and hope, right? That's the story. In Ireland, as a shepherd, enduring hardships and some cruelty. Well, 6 years later, he did escape and get back to Ireland, or his homeland, England. And when he was Welsh, thank you. And so Wales, he got to Wales. And, but he had a dream when he got home. His dream was that he was being called by the Irish to come and help them. He didn't want to either. It took him 6 years to go back to Ireland. But eventually, he did. Each of us has a gift. The reason that St. Patrick became a saint, the reason that there's all these legends about them, let's see, he chased the snakes out of Ireland. I got all kinds of legends listed here. He raised 33 people from the dead. Did you know that? Yeah, that's one of his legends. One time there were a bunch of sailors who were traveling on land, and they were hungry, famished, going without food. And he prayed for them, and a herd of swine miraculously appeared. These legends are created because this person created or gave of his natural gift, his zone of genius, right? I don't know that any of those legends are true, but whether they're factual or not, there's truth in that this man performed miracles. Jennifer Lee says, be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. Now, sometimes we serve from our zone of competence or excellence. In 12-step, which I participate in on a regular basis, I participate in service to the groups that I go to, because I have a need for belonging. And being of service in that group meets that need for belonging for me. Now, being a greeter at the front door is in my zone of genius. Hanging out, hugging people, welcoming them. Yeah. Setting up on Sunday morning, especially when I was new to that meeting, and I didn't know where anything was or how anything got set up, my level of incompetence, that was from my zone of incompetence, but I was willing to learn, and you know, people taught me and helped me, and eventually I'm fairly competent at it. I could do it, I think, on my own, maybe. But, you know, competence. Didn't really fill me with joy, but I knew it was important to be done. The zone of excellence is also a great place to be. So I'm really good with streaming and computers and sound equipment. I started learning about that stuff during the pandemic. I didn't know anything about any of that until I became an evangelical minister. Televangelist. and I learned. But I'm really good at it now. And so that's one of the things that I do in the meeting that I enjoy the most, that I belong to. And the same is true in our community. There are many people who are of service in an area that is actually just speaks to their heart and it is important. And there are people who are in service in an area that, yeah, they don't really even know what they're doing, but they're willing to learn along the way. Right? All of it is important. The most important part is to bring gratitude to the service so that we can be in joy. Because that joy, that gratitude, grounds us in an awareness of God, regardless of what is going on in the world. Because that's the message. There is a power, a presence of peace that is always available to us. And we can do things to make the world a better place, to bring more of that into our own hearts, into our own minds. And usually it is through service. So, Margaret Mead is quoted as saying, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has." So, I invite you just to turn within for a moment and ask yourself, what is calling to be expressed through me? What's in your zone of genius? How can you bring it into expression in the world? My hope is that each and every one of us knows that. I know. Oh, you can open your eyes again if you want. You don't have to. I know that getting up here and yammering on about my spiritual life and inviting you into your own spiritual life and your own understanding of God, this is what I'm called to do. I love standing up here. I don't like writing the lessons so much. But I love standing up here and being with all of you. I'm so grateful that I finally said yes, after years of saying, not me, I'm not the one. The truth is, we are all the one. We are the one called to do and be that which is within us. That which God said yes. Yeah, they did. So I invite you to grow into, if you're not already there, but I know many of you already are, the affirmation that Charles Fillmore said when he was 94. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do those things that ought to be done by me. You guys want to do that with me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just do parts. I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm.
I fairly